Welcome to Friends and Fiction. 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories. Novelists Mary Kay Andrews, Kristin Harmel, Kristy Woodson Harvey, and Patti Callahan Henry are 4 longtime friends with more than 70 published books between them. Together, they host Friends and Fiction, with author interviews and fascinating insider talk about publishing and writing, to highlight and support independent bookstores. They discuss the books they've written, the books they're reading now, and the art of storytelling. If you love books and you're curious about the writing world, you're in the right place. Hello, 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 everyone. It is Wednesday night, and it is time for Friends and Fiction. We have an incredible night ahead of us for all of you out there, our second to last show of the summer season before we take a 2-week break. So let's get rolling. I'm Kristin Harmel.
I'm Mary Kay Andrews.
I'm Patti Callahan Henry.
I'm Meg Walker.
And Kristy's waving.
I don't think Kristy can hear us.
Oh no! What the heck happened? That's so strange.
I don't know.
Kristy, try your
without her.
Try your settings. I wonder what happened, how you suddenly lost it. Oh, that's really weird. Okay, when Kristy comes back though, we have something to celebrate. So we are excited to do that, but maybe while we wait for her, we can jump ahead to Patti, you telling us about bookshop.org.
Oh, and this is Friends and Fiction. 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories to support indie bookstores, authors, and librarians. Tonight we'll be welcoming Stephen Rowley, the author of The Celebrants, and Lisa Steinke and Liz Fenton, who co-authored Forever Hold Your Peace.
All right, Kristy, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I couldn't hear you.
No, you're just keeping it exciting. We like that. All right, now that we have Kristy and now that she can hear us, Kristy has to hop off in a minute to go to an event, but we have a very important announcement to make, and we wanted to make sure that Meg was here for it too. So, Kathy, do you want to clue us into what's going on?
I certainly do. I mean, we're smiling ear to ear because we just learned that with all y'all's help, Kristy's The Summer of Songbird just debuted at number 13 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for the 4 of you on this screen here. We're unbelievable. You supported this book like it was your own. And everybody out there, this Friends and Fiction community is the best in the world. Every event that I have been to, every post, every review, you guys just show up and show up and show up and show up. And it has been amazing and so just heartwarming and gratifying to see you at all of these events. And y'all's friendships to us and with each other are just they're amazing. So thank you so much for you guys. This is all of our New York Times bestseller, not mine. So thank you for everything you do. I really appreciate it.
We're so happy and so excited.
Proud
3 in a row, you guys.
Proud.
3 in a row.
I know. That's right.
Fiction 3-peat.
That's right.
Cheers,
I'm super
my
thrilled
friend.
for you.
I love you guys. Thank you. And we can't wait
you.
to see everybody in Tampa tomorrow.
I can't wait to give you a big hug.
No, I can't wait.
And pop champagne with you instead of without you alone in our offices.
But I like that you guys took one for the team for me and did that even without me being there. It's really special.
It was really a hardship.
We do what we have to do.
I know. It means a lot. All right.
All right, love.
All right. Love you. Have a great
Have a
club.
great show. I'm so sorry I'm going to miss it, but I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good show.
We love you. Okay, y'all. That is so awesome. I feel so giddy, right? Just feel so giddy about the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are all so tremendously grateful to all of you out there who have supported us and our book launches this year. It means the world. And of course, you know that underlying everything is our mission to help support independent booksellers. One way that you can help us do that is to buy from them when and where you can, or to visit our own Friends and Fiction bookshop.org. That one. The bookshop.org page, where you will find Stephen's books, and Liz and Lisa's books, and books by the four of us and all of our guests at a discount.
And speaking of amazing books, don't forget to join the Friends in Fiction official book club with Brenda and Lisa, which just hit 19,000 members.
Good for them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know. Next Tuesday, July 25th, live at 6 p.m., they'll be throwing a 3rd anniversary party over on their Facebook page, and you won't want to miss that. So be sure to join them on August 17th for happy hour with Ron Block and a special guest at 7:30. If you missed Kristin's chat with them this past Monday about the Paris daughter, watch the recording anytime on the book club's Facebook page.
I had such a great time with them. It was such a good chat. They brought Anissa on. They brought Marlene on. It was absolutely fantastic. So make sure to join us next week, next Tuesday for that. And without further ado now, let's welcome Stephen Rowley.
Stephen Rowley is the New York Times bestselling author of several books. And I have to say, a Friends and Fiction page fan favorite. It's Stephen Rowley, Stephen Rowley, Stephen Rowley. But his books include Lily and the Octopus and The Guncle. His novel, The Editor, was named by NPR as one of the best books of 2019. And The Guncle was a Goodreads Choice Awards finalist for 2021 Novel of the Year, and the winner of the Thurber Prize for American Humor.
Stephen's fiction has been published in 20 languages. All of his books are in development for feature film or television adaptation. Originally from Portland, Maine, Stephen is a graduate of Emerson College, and he currently resides in Palm Springs with his husband, the writer Byron Lane, who also just had a novel out.
Yeah.
And 2 rescue dogs.
Stephen's new novel, The Celebrants, was released earlier this summer, and actually, I believe on the same day as his husband's book, right? We'll have to talk to him about that. And was selected as June's Today Show Read with Jenna book club pick, which is fabulous. Sean, can you bring Stephen on?
Hi,
Stephen. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. This is so much fun.
Oh, we are so happy to have you. So we'd love to have a little chat with guests before we dive into talking about the books. So I would love to toss the conversation over to Patti, who had a great question in mind for all of us.
So, Stephen, I love this book. And it got me thinking about having a live funeral. So when I read your novel about a group of friends who throw each other what you call living funerals, saying what they want to say while they're alive and together, it made me think about Huck Finn and how he faked his own death
Yes.
so he could listen in on his funeral.
Or Becky Thatcher.
Poor Becky Thatcher was mourning him, and then he thought, so there is something primal about wanting to know what our loved ones think of us and say about us when we aren't around. And I'm wondering, made me think, do I really want to hear it? Would I want to hear it? Would I want a living funeral? For me, I think I'd want to know what my kids would say about me.
Ooh, yeah.
For some reason, that was the thing that, yours is about friends, but I thought I would love to hear what they would say about me, but I'm not sure I'd want a living funeral. How about you, Mary Kay? Would you?
Well, only if I can write my own eulogy.
That's not the point.
There's a writer for you. Yeah.
With inappropriate jokes. But then I'm in. But I have mixed feelings about unless I can control everything and executive producer, I don't know that I'm interested.
Stephen, how about you?
Yeah, I don't, my stock answer is that writers are observers, and I don't know if I would be comfortable being the center of attention in that way. I certainly would like to attend one. I would like to see what it's like. But then I said this on the Today Show too. I was like, if we're going to do it, let's go for a full-on roast. Like,
gosh, that's hilarious.
Just rake me over the coals, and let's see if I can handle it.
Oh God, I think just living on our text string is like living in a roast. So I don't know.
That is actually true. I feel like, to me, I was thinking about this earlier, and I think in a way, every time we have to update our bios and write like a longer,
gosh.
fuller bio, we're almost writing our own eulogies, right? It's just they print them on the back of a book cover or read it before you walk onto stage. So I kind of feel like it would be some version of that, but beyond that, I don't think I can go there in my head. I'm not good at thinking about death. That is just not my thing. But okay, Stephen, let's dive into this great book. So it was an instant New York Times bestseller, much like our Kristy tonight.
I know.
And it was-
Congratulations to Kristy.
Yes,
Can I just
we're
say
so
real fast, though?
excited.
I mean,
Yeah.
how joyous for her to be able to come in and celebrate with you all. When I found out, I was on tour and I was in Louisville, Kentucky, which
Okay.
was a great town. I'd never been, but I didn't know people there to really celebrate with. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have some bourbon. I need some bourbon. I'm in
Yeah.
Kentucky. This is how you have to celebrate. I'm not a big bourbon drinker, but anyway, the event was fantastic. There were like 150 people there. The people were so extraordinary. But by the time it was done and the signing line got through, it was an early kind of town. So the only place I could still find that was open and serving food was at TGI Fridays. So I went to TGI Fridays and had bourbon by myself at the
Oh
bar.
my God.
As one does.
As one does. I was like, that's the glamour of book tour right there.
That's so
Oh.
true. Oh
Only
my
thing
goodness.
better would have been Applebee's. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yay for Kristy, got to celebrate with friends.
We are so happy for her. We really are, and it's funny, Stephen. We talk about this sometimes in the show, but the four of us, I think, I mean, we are as invested in each other's careers as we are in our own. So I think all week it has felt like, I mean, now Kristy's actually been doing the hard work of being out there and touring it. But like we've all been nervously counting the numbers and thinking about it, and so we all, I think, feel very happy and very relieved tonight, which is great. So, Stephen, The Celebrants is a novel about a group of friends who reunite over the years in Big Sur to honor a decades-old pact to throw each other living funerals and remind themselves that life is worth living. But this reunion is different. So, Stephen, that is merely the plot and the setup. This book is about so much more than that. Can you tell us a little bit about The Celebrants and then what you think the book is really about?
Sure. So I was inspired very early on in the pandemic when we were all sheltering at home and looking for comfort viewing, we're scrolling through Netflix, etc. I stumbled upon The Big Chill. Does everybody remember that movie? So, about a group of college friends in middle age who sort of come back together upon the death of one of their own. And it's all about the stresses of middle age and middle age ennui and what the back half of our lives are going to look like. And I'm watching this movie and every character in it is 35 years old. And I was like, oh no. And as someone who was facing my 50th birthday that year, I said, this is not comforting to me. This is not comforting at all. But it did get me thinking about all the ways which life has changed sort of in 40 years and what we think of as middle age. The title, The Big Chill itself, referred to this sort of long stretch of time, like after you were married and you had your kids and you owned a home, which is something people used to be able to do. And, and not a lot changed. You worked probably one job until collecting a pension and retirement. And in that stretch in the middle, until your kids grew up and left, not a lot changed. But now it got me thinking about how much more volatile life can feel. We have a lot of people have more than one marriage or a blended family. We certainly have more than one job or career. We don't work for one company anymore. And there's lots of room for reinvention. And I thought that's where the great stories kind of lies in this middle stretch that we used to think of as a sleepy period.
Ooh, that's a good point. I like that.
That middle stretch.
And then I was coupled with the fact that I also lost one of my best friends from college to breast cancer. And around that time, and there is something about losing a contemporary, I think, for the first time that forces you to sort of face your own mortality in a way. And there's been so much loss. And I know we here among us have had personal losses too, but even for people who haven't lost someone over the past couple of years, we've lost time, certainly, and we've lost the ability to be together. And I think there's going to be a lot of conversation amongst writers, particularly, and artists, how we're going to address the past few years. And I do think we need to address some of this because America's not a great country about dealing with grief and grieving. And so I wanted to write about that. But the idea that this novel about friends who come together to celebrate one another and don't wait to tell each other what they mean until it's too late, that's absolutely a reaction to, I think, the past few years we've been through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to we're only a little bit out. So we're definitely not hindsight is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But even just looking back a little bit, it's still way too fuzzy to understand.
Yeah.
Like, I still feel like we're just not there yet in understanding the grief, the loss, the confusion, how we've changed, how the country's changed. And you have that great line. I think I heard you say it in another interview where you said that and it's in the book too, that the funerals are for the living. And that was part of what inspired this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in Italy when my friend passed away, and I was like, okay, do I cut short my trip? Do I rush back? And all of our friends who were there just kept reminding me that funerals are for the living was something that was said over and over again. She wasn't going to care if I was there or not.
Yeah.
It was really about comforting the rest of us who were, and they assured me, no, we have it. There's going to be plenty of us there. We have it under control. They were more concerned for me, sort of being out there on my own. But but that was a phrase that stuck in my head. Funerals are for the living. And then, sort of writers do then, we sort of upend that and explore it a little bit. And so here I have a literal interpretation of that. But, even though I say the book is inspired by COVID, certainly the past couple of years and everything we've been through. I conveniently skipped the years, 2019 to 2022. I'm just like, I'm not ready to relive those so directly. In fact, was it Elizabeth Strout, who's one of my favorite writers, in her Lucy by the Sea. Her book was almost a TikTok of like minute by minute, 2020, reliving 2020. And I started reading, and I'm like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not prepared for this. But we can sort of like talk about some of the issues without revisiting it so directly.
Looking at it kind of side eye, like just out of
because you're right. We don't have enough distance, I think, to really fully understand it. But I think we do need to start processing it.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the friends in this novel. So the Celebrants introduces us to a tight-knit group of friends who meet in college. I have them. They're still some of my dearest friends in the world. I just spent some time with one of them, and we were looking through old letters and photographs, and you see that person you used to be, that's still the person you are. But then in your novel, it jumps to the future where these bonds are still just as strong. It is about people who knew us before, knew the real us. So what is it about bonds in youth that are so enduring? And do you have a group like this that you fed back on?
I do. And hearing you say that now, I'm so grateful that we have, printed letters and printed photographs.
Oh my gosh,
and I think about all the things that, all our electronic communication, which we're not going to be able to sort of archive in the same way, or, photos are, all digital and they're on a phone or they're on Instagram, but they're otherwise can be fleeting. I worry about, sort of what we're going to leave behind. But yeah, I do have this group of friends, and I think there is something about these long-standing friendships that's so important. As you said, the ones who knew you sort of before, when you were all hopes and dreams and the future was sort of untold, and also sort of know you and love you now that a lot of the pieces of your life are locked into place. And sometimes, sometimes there's slightly different versions of yourself, but those friends can be a bridge to sort of reconciling those two different versions, I think. And so, and the unique thing about college friends, and what was fun in crafting these friendships, is that sometimes, in college, you're at the whim of a housing algorithm, or who's in your dormitory, or who's in a sorority or a fraternity, or who's who you might have a class with. It's a lot of it is very random, and you're meeting people who are different from you, sometimes for the first time. And so I think that's why those friendships are so kind of enduring. They're sort of opening your eyes to a larger, wider world.
So my roommate was assigned to me because I went to a university where I didn't know anyone. And she is still one of my dearest friends in the world. And we were talking about this the other day, and I brought up your book, and how fun it would be to do that with all of us. And just the people who knew you then. And I just said, we didn't even know how lucky we were.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just form these bonds and you assume it's normal. And we just didn't know how. We know how now, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here I am, 30 years out from my college graduation. I would never have imagined, it would have been impossible, when you're that young to look that far in the future and assume that and the fun thing is, in all the ways which, the opening page of the book is inspired by something in real life, which is the friends are getting together and someone has to put on their reading glasses to read the menu, and someone has to turn on the phone, the flashlight on their phone to read because the lights are too dim. And someone's like, when did the music become too loud? Yeah, it's like I was watching our group, go through this at a restaurant, and I was like, what happened to you people? You got old. And then I'm like, oh wait, we're the same. We're the same. I just can't see it on myself in the same way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I had this just overwhelming, just feeling of love, this rush of love for all of them, because we have stuck together and survived a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm down in Tampa. I grew up in St. Pete across the bay. And we're going to have our big launch for Kristy tomorrow night in Tampa. Then my husband and I are going over to St. Pete, and we're going to hang with my junior high girls.
Wow.
I love that.
We've been friends.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We've been friends since 7th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
But anyway, let's talk about the celebrants. Stephen, I am a house person. And when you started writing about that house in Big Sur, OMG, I just wanted to move in. And I felt like the story was so enriched by the clifftop feeling, the unconnected feeling of what they were celebrating, or rather addressing, death. So talk to us specifically about that house in Big Sur, and where can I get there? How can I get there?
Right? And this wonderful cover, which I love, you can sort of see it over my shoulder. I wanted it to feel kind of aspirational. I wanted people to think like, oh, I want to be on that balcony with that group. I mean, that's the joy of writing a book like this, is creating this friendship group and then having sort of inviting the reader to be the sixth, member of that group in a way. So, it's fun to have them have inside jokes, but in a way, but write them in a way that doesn't exclude the reader, so they feel a part of it too. And the house sort of very much plays into that. I wanted people to feel like, oh, I want to go there. And there are a couple other destinations in the book too, but it all feels, it is a summer book, and we've been talking about some heavy issues, but hopefully it's also a lot of fun, because here's the real secret of every time you write about death and dying, you're really writing about living. Right. And in this case, celebrating. I wanted that to feel like I want to be a part of that. And the house was a big part of it. And it's just sort of, dream, I don't know, when you create a house for, or something like for the Homewreckers or something too, where the house becomes, kind of like a character in it. It's so much fun to sort of create that place. But it's always a struggle. I was going to say how much to include, and then because I'll go into great paragraphs, and I'm like, oh, I've really slowed down the narrative here because I'm obsessed with the house.
It kind of looks like a Palm Springs house, though, a little bit. Yeah, modernist, a little bit. Yeah. It just instead of a swimming pool there, you've got the cliff and the ocean. Yeah. All right. So, you narrated the audiobook. Talk to us about that. Have you narrated your other audiobooks? I did narrate The Guncle. I had a wonderful actor, Michael Urie, narrate my first 2 audiobooks. And there was something about The Guncle, my previous novel, where I thought I had enough in common with the character. I thought, oh, this might be fun to try. But my publisher wasn't necessarily convinced. I had to audition. And then even when I got the go ahead, I know, isn't that funny? I had to send in tape of me reading my own book. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But listen, like, it's a different skill set. I get it. Like, we all know writers who probably would not a good idea that they try it. But there was enough of a high school theater kid in me still, and I thought I want to try. And then I bragged to a friend because I said, this was in 2020. I was like, I'm going to narrate my audiobook, and he turned to me and said, "You put an actor out of work during a pandemic?" I thought, oh no, poor Michael Urie. But he's on a TV show now with Harrison Ford, so I think it's fine.
He'll be
He's
okay.
doing okay.
He's doing okay. We won't worry too much
He'll
about
survive.
him. Yeah, but and this one, I guess this time the opposite happened. The publisher sort of assumed that I was going to do it, and I don't know that I always will, but I was sort of happy to do it, to try it one more time. The interesting thing though is they rent me a professional recording studio here in Palm Springs where I live. And if you've read The Guncle or if you've been to Palm Springs, you know that Palm Springs is hot, right? And the first thing they have to do is turn off the air conditioning in the recording, in the booth, in the sound, because you can hear the whir of, the microphone picks it up. And so, my goodness, I'm in there kind of, the audio engineer was sitting on the other side of a window where it is air conditioned. He was looking in at me and I was reading the celebrants. He goes, "Oh, look at you. You're crying at your own book." I'm like, "I'm not crying. I'm sweating." But by the time I got to the end, I was probably also crying, but I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's hilarious. I only recorded my author note on The Secret Book of Flora Lee, and they did the same thing. And I'm sweating, and they're making me say things over and over, and I'm like, I will never narrate my own book. So good on you, Stephen.
It's so funny. And if anyone is watching, and just like that, the new iteration of Sex and the City, Carrie just narrated her own audiobook, the whole episode around it. And I felt for her. And there's sometimes, where the narrator gets in a fight with the writer, like the writer in me. I'm like, "Oh, who wrote this garbage? It's impossible."
Yes.
It's impossible
I know
to
what you
speak.
mean.
Yeah.
I've experienced that even with reading my author's note. I'm like, why would I put it
why
that
would I
way?
say
You know what I mean?
I will say it's changed my writing process in that I will never, ever not read my work aloud.
Yes,
Even if it's
so
just
true.
quietly to myself or to the dogs, like, or to my husband. I live with another writer, so it's always going to be part of my process.
Yeah. And I always find something if I read out loud. Always.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Every
For me,
single time.
it's repetition often. That's what I tend to pick up.
Yeah, you find your favorite terms easier.
Yes, exactly.
Way, yeah.
That word that you say.
Yes. That word, just OMG.
Does it sneak in there, Kathy? Like you sprinkled it with a salt shaker?
Oh, not even a salt shaker. It's like I dumped it in there.
She comes with that pepper grinder that's 3 feet long and fancy, tell me when.
Exactly,
tell me just.
Exactly.
No,
just when. Yeah.
Commas,
just when.
Commas are what I put in the salt shaker, but just is what I just
funny.
dumped in there.
That's hilarious. All right, Stephen, I want to ask this. With a book about death and love and friendship, and for me, essentially, it's about being who we're meant to be. And the struggle to get there, right? It's a struggle to get there. Is there one thing you felt you really want the reader to take away?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. I think just as you say, it is that we have the constant ability to evolve and grow. And we're not locked into versions of who we are. It's not over until it's over, and we can still seek and learn and make new friends and have new life experiences. There's a skydiving scene in this. If you want to go, have any of you been skydiving?
Never.
If you want to, or if anyone listening wants to, you should probably go before reading the Celebrants. But listen, there's not a high body count in this book. It's just very funny sequence, and that's the thing. Hopefully, we've been talking about serious things, but the book hopefully is also very, very funny, because that's what friends do when they get together. But I think this idea that we're not locked into versions of ourselves, and it's those who are close to us that can help guide the way sometimes on our paths. And so treasure those closest to you, and don't be shy about telling them what they mean.
That's a great message. Well, Stephen, before we get to our next guests, Liz and Lisa, I wanted to ask you one more thing. And we actually have a question from someone who's watching tonight, an audience member, Kathy Brewer Johnson, who says, "What are the challenges and advantages of being married to another writer?" I would like to add to that, though. What was it like to have a book come out the exact same day? Didn't you both? You both had the exact same book release date. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I'm still worried people are going to get sick of us. So my husband is the author, Byron Lane. Books are A Star is Bored, which he wrote. For years, he was Carrie Fisher's personal assistant, and that was inspired by their friendship. And his new book that came out this year called Big Gay Wedding is like a father of the bride. It's actually mother, except it's mother of the groom, which is great fun as well. And both books came out on the same day, which I think people assume we planned, but there really is no way we could have. We wrote, we have different publishers, different agents. We wrote them at slightly different times. It was just the way the stars aligned, and we just decided to lean into it and have fun. What other choice did we have? So there was a profile of us on the Today Show together. We got to tour together a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. But it's also we're a great resource for each other. Hopefully, I think I don't know. You tell me. I have writer friends who assume being married to another writer would be an absolute nightmare. But the interesting thing is it can be a very solitary endeavor, and that's why it's good to have friends or a collective like you all have too, because you have to lean on someone, for the hard parts of the job, and being like, hey, I didn't love this first version of the cover. What do you do in a situation like that? Or how do you speak up? Or, there's all sorts of questions. And so here we are, we're able to bounce things off one another. And I think, we do read each other's stuff, and then it's just challenging sort of figuring out which hat I'm wearing at the moment. Am I reading this as a spouse, in which case I'm just going to give encouragement? Did anyone see that Julia Louis-Dreyfus movie that's out now? It's called You Hurt My Feelings.
I want to see it.
She plays a novelist whose husband, she catches her husband behind her back saying not nice things about her work in progress.
Oh my gosh.
And it destroys her. So I'm offering encouragement, or sometimes, you are coming to me as another writer, and I will offer some gentle notes. We've learned it's not a good idea for me to try to punch up jokes. Like, that never goes over well. You'd be like, well, I'm an award-winning humorist now,
That is funny.
Yeah, but we navigated as best we can.
Well, and that sounds wonderful to have someone on tour with you a little bit too. I think that's such a lonely time sometimes. As you wind up in a TGI Fridays in Louisville all by yourself, but in the middle of tour.
Sadly, that was a leg I was on by my own, but there was a nice waiter at TGI Fridays who took care of me at that table.
Well, fantastic. All right. Well, Stephen, you have been such an incredible guest tonight. Before we let you go, where can everyone find you online and on tour?
Yes. My appearances are on my website, stephenrowley.com, and I'm on social media, mostly Instagram, Twitter for now. We'll see how long that lasts. At Mr. Stephen Rowley, Mr. Stephen Rowley, not Mrs. Tevin Rowley, who someone asked, like, why is your Instagram Mrs. Tevin Rowley? It's like,
that's
Mr.
hilarious.
Maybe you could make up a persona for Mrs. Tevin Rowley.
I know.
Mrs.
Tevin.
Tevin Rowley.
But anyway, I would love to see you there. Give me a follow. We have a lot. If you like dog pictures and caftan pictures, Mary Kate, you got your caftan. And lots of scenery from Palm Springs. Give me a follow.
Great, Stephen. It was such a pleasure chatting with you tonight. Thank you so much for being with us.
I've had so much fun, and you're going to have a great time with Liz and Lisa too.
I'm excited. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Cheers. Be well.
Love
Thanks, you too. All right, we are so excited to get to Lisa and Liz, but first, a few quick messages from us.
So we want to remind you that next week's episode with Ellen Hildebrand, in case you haven't heard of her, she has a new book out. It's called 5-Star Weekend. So a fan favorite on our page and everywhere else in the country. Ellen will be our summer season finale. Then we'll be off for 2 weeks. We will be preparing for the next season. We'll be writing, but we will be off the air for 2 weeks. before we come back on August 16th, with an absolutely killer fall schedule that will take us all the way through the holidays. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter yet, make sure you head over to friendsandfiction.com to sign up so that you're looped in the second we announce our amazing fall lineup.
And speaking of amazing lineups, it's not every year that all four of us have new novels being released, but this is one of those years. Kristy's, and Patti's have all just been released, and mine is coming in September. We've already been in Columbus, Charleston, and Huntsville together. And tomorrow, only a day away. We'll be here in Tampa, where I am right now, at one of our favorite indies, the Oxford Exchange, to celebrate the summer of Songbirds. So if you're within driving distance of Tampa Bay, we hope you'll join us. You can find tickets at oxfordexchange.com. But there's more.
Yep.
More, you say? Yes, there is more. On August 1st, we'll be in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, for a breast cancer fundraiser, and those tickets are available now. And last but hopefully not least, we're going to be headed up north on October 4th to celebrate the launch of my 2023 book, Bright Lights, Big Christmas. And I just happen to have a copy right here.
Look at that.
So good. I'm so excited about it.
So stay tuned for more deets on this event.
Fantastic. So we also love reminding you about our Friday podcast because it is so incredible. And we've had some of the most fascinating guests recently. So we always post a link to the newest episode on Facebook and Instagram, or better yet, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and you will be notified each time a new episode drops. On the most recent episode, out now, MKA and Ron talked to Christopher Swan about his new novel, Never Back Down. And we love Chris Swan. He's been a guest on this show before. He's such a great guy. I cannot wait to listen to this episode. And coming this Friday, Ron and Patti talked to A.D. Ryan about Horses of Fire. So listen, review, subscribe, and share with a friend if you like what you hear. And all right, now it is time for our next guests, Lisa Steinke and Liz Fenton.
Liz and Lisa have been best friends for over 30 years, and they survived high school and college together. They've co-authored 7 novels, including the Amazon charts bestseller, The Good Widow.
In addition to writing books, they created a podcast. We know something about that.
Yeah.
But they got together, their friendship, and formed a podcast. And I love this title. We Fight So You Don't Have to. Lessons from a 30-year friendship. They also appear monthly on a San Diego news station to share their favorite book club picks.
They both reside in San Diego with their families and several rescue dogs. Their new novel, Forever Hold Your Peace, was just released on July 11th. Sean, can you bring Lisa and Liz on?
Hi, y'all.
Hi. Welcome. Oh, it is so lovely to see the two of you. We cannot wait to dive into talking about this book. So, the publisher describes Forever Hold Your Peace as Father of the Bride meets Bride Wars, which I love. It's such a great way to put it. So, Lisa, can you start us off by telling us a bit more about the book and where the idea for it came from?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we were wanting to write something new, and we were on the phone with our agent and talking about just straightforward rom-coms. And she said, I like all your ideas, but you guys are really, your like wheelhouse is writing about friendships. And so why don't you write a rom-com that's more about a friendship that broke up and came back together? And so that's sort of the genesis for Forever Hold Your Peace.
Great. Can you give us kind of a little sales pitch about what the book is about? Can you kind of give us a little quick summary?
Sure, of course. So it's about June and her best friend in college, and they are absolutely as close as they can possibly be until something terrible happens and the friendship ends, and they never think they're going to see each other again until 20-something years later when their kids get engaged. So now they're thrust back in each other's lives and they have to navigate a wedding together, deal with the things that went wrong in their past, and see if they can come together for their kids.
I love that. It is such a great premise for a book. And I loved it. The way you executed the story was just fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, no, it was so great. So so Liz, one of our favorite questions to ask on here after we talk about what the book's about is, what is the book really about? So I want to ask you that. What's the book about at its core? And also, why do you think that novels about messy, complicated families continue to be so appealing to people? Families and friendships, I guess.
Right. It's a great question. The book is about a lot of things, but it's about this friendship and almost not romantic romance, but this, romance between these two friends. But it's also about the love between mothers and daughters and other, and exes. And, for me, and I've said this a lot, my daughter is going off to college in a couple weeks. It's my firstborn is going to Washington State. And,
wow.
And I have a lot of feelings about it.
A lot of feelings.
Yeah. But as I was writing this, June and Amy, who, there's multiple narratives in the book and it's multi-generational, but really the heartbeat of the book is this friendship of June and Amy. And they are having a hard time like letting go. I think it's really hard as a parent to let your kids make decisions that they might fail. I think, as parents and maybe control freaks, which maybe Lisa and I are a little bit, like you want to be like, oh no, this will happen. But June and Amy kind of have to let their kids do things that might fail and let them fail and figure that out. And I think it's one of the hardest things we do as a parent, at least for me personally. And it's something that I'm going through and something Lisa's gone through. So that's really what the book is about. And I've already forgotten the second part of the question.
No, that was a great answer. See, that's my fault for asking you two questions in one. The second part of the question was, why do you think people are so drawn to books about sort of big, messy, complicated friendships or families or interpersonal dynamics? What do you think it is that's so appealing about that type of book?
I think a couple things. I think first, we see a part of ourselves, because I think even though our families are all great, I mean, it's complicated and even, I think mother-daughter relationships are complicated in all family with exes. And I think people enjoy, feeling maybe like they're not alone. And then also we just love drama, like as a society, right?
Yeah.
Like we love some tea, some excitement.
Some tea. We do like some spilled tea. We do.
Okay, now let's take a step back for a moment and let's talk a bit about the two of you. I know you're longtime best friends, but can you talk us through how you met and how and when you decided to begin writing novels together, and how did you not kill each other in the process?
Ooh. 3-part question. Let's see if we can remember these. I'll start with how we met, which was in high school. So only like 15 years ago,
Right.
But yeah, we met in English class, and I was the new kid at school, and Liz kind of took me into her group, and we slowly started to realize, we have some commonalities outside of this group. We love to read, we love to write. And then we ended up going to college together. And it was really after graduating and going to our other careers that, the idea of writing together kind of came up for us again, because we'd talked about it in college. We'd been in a theater class together and we wrote this terrible one-act play, and we almost killed each other. I mean, the word processor, which is what we were writing on at the time, I think it might have ended up on the floor or close to teetering on the edge of the desk. And so we kind of put that aside and went on with our lives. And then, I don't know, I just got the bug. And I asked Liz if she wanted to try it many, many years later. And she was, somewhat open to it, right, Liz? I mean, you were in a different stage of your life. And so you had just had a baby, I think, or you might have been pregnant, and it was a lot to take on. But I think I just wrote a chapter. This is around the time, I think, maybe we met you, Kristin. I feel like that was the book that we were writing when we met you. And so we just started, and I don't know how we didn't kill each other though. I mean, what are our tips and tricks on that? We never write in the same room, even to this day. We definitely, I mean, I was living in Chicago for 10 years of this partnership, and that was fine because we were like in our separate spaces. And so I think that's the key for us, is we just need our separate time as well as our together writing time.
Yeah. And I think, and if I get interject, I think we've learned, I mean, listen, we have made so many mistakes. I think we've probably made every mistake as taking your friendship and turning it into a business is not easy, especially a creative space where everything is subjective, right? And Lisa and I, although we have commonalities, the way we approach business and decision making, really different. Like, Lisa likes to think about things. She's very detail oriented, and I'm just like, let's go. Yes, that sounds great. Like, let's go. Like, I don't even care. And she's like, no. So I think for several years we really battled. And then I think we finally realized, because we almost got to a point we weren't going to be able to write anymore, where we're like, okay, we're really different, but how does that make us better? Okay, well, it makes me slow down and be like, okay, I know Lisa's going to want more information about this, so I need to get more information. And I think Lisa, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to speak for you. I think that
often do. So why should now be different?
Yes. But I think you became more open to taking leaps of faith without having like every fact and like knowing exactly how it was going to turn out. So I think we're really trying in our partnership. And just today we were talking about something like working through, and just, if you like heard us talking about our business stuff, we sound like we're a married couple that's been in therapy. I'm like, I hear what you're saying, Lisa, and I'd like to consider, like, we use like therapy speak. Like,
I think I said to you today, like, I appreciate you saying that. And now what I want to add is
what I hear you saying is
that's awesome.
It's where we are now.
Well, in Forever Hold Your Peace, you delve deep into the tangled lives of two ex-best friends who were as close as sisters 25 years before. Now, you talked about this a little bit, but was there any point where the two of you said, no, we can't, we gotta, this is it, we're done?
Yeah, I mean, we one of our books, I think it was our 5th book, Girls Night Out. It was the second thriller that we had written, and we took on a lot. The book had, 3 narratives, 3 timelines, and we really made a lot of mistakes when we were writing it. And long story short, when we got into the editing process, because the book was already sold, we had to rewrite it probably 4 times.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and weirdly, the book is about these best friends that are trapped, like they go on a girls' trip to Tulum, and then they just really start hating each other, and one of them disappears. And ironically, we were trying to fix the book when we were in New Orleans at this a writer event, and the editor's note kept saying, like, I just don't believe that these women are trapped on this trip together and hate each other so much. So we were in New Orleans hating each other, trapped in New Orleans. And
were you really though? Like,
yes, really. And I almost flew home a day early. So we went home and we didn't speak, but we had the book in a Google Doc, and we worked on that book for 2 weeks without speaking. And except like, we weren't really talking. We sent the book back to the editor, and her note, wow, I really feel like these women hate each other now. Like, you did an amazing job. I'm like, great. Well, our friendship might be over now, but I'm glad the book's going to copy edits, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's amazing.
But we had to really reevaluate after that book and make a lot of changes. And Lisa, I'll let you speak to that. But
that's when therapy started, I would say. I mean, we did have that conversation, Mary Kay, back to your question. Can we keep going? I mean, it just, and I don't think our friendship would have ended, but we definitely were talking about, could, the writing partnership keep going? And we weren't so sure. So that's when we had to, start therapy and between ourselves and start trying to figure out, like, how do we do this? Things we probably should have talked about in the beginning, but we just jumped in like, oh, we're best friends and this will be fine. And we really, it was until it wasn't. And maybe that's a lot like, you know, not having premarital counseling or not having, you know, you jump in and it's all fine until it's not. And so then we ironed out a lot of the kinks. I'd say, you know, we still have things come up, but we're so much better dealing with them now.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I love that you didn't let it blow up. That just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we started a podcast about, we're like, wow, we have a ton of material here. Like, but I do
really
think, yeah, I do think there's a lot of value in, you know, people always ask, like, how do you do? Well, you always have to forgive. You have to forgive yourself, the other person. And you really got to like look and be like, what could we do better next time in this situation? You know, what can we be less reactive over text? Could we always have those conversations in person? And really committing to making those changes have like really, really help us.
That's awesome.
So speaking of that podcast, one of the things I love about you two is how open and transparent you are, even right now with us, but also about your publishing journey. You have one of your podcasts is called, the podcast is called We Fight So You Don't Have To, but one of them, beginning in March 22, you started, but you share the story of your own frustrations and in a great episode called Coming Out of the Rejection Closet. Lisa, I want you to talk about finding yourself at that low point and what it was like. Like, did you have some kind of vulnerability hangover? Were you like, I didn't mean to share that? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think there were several months that went by, you know, it was 2020. It was a bad time for everyone, but in particular, we were having a really hard time because our book came out. It wasn't selling well. We decided to part ways with our agent. We weren't with our publisher anymore. And we sort of felt like, is this it? You know, is this it? And not by our choice, but are we done? And so between ourselves, we were talking about it quite a bit. And I think we just got to the point where we had this podcast and we just said, let's just talk about this. I mean, it's a real problem for us. We're having a really hard time. Let's just talk about it. Not thinking that anybody else was going through it. I mean, we thought it was really just us. I mean, you're on social media and you're watching everything. Everything looks amazing. And, you know, we were just feeling like it's just got to be us. And then once we talked about it, the number of, you know, messages and texts and phone calls and emails we received from all different levels of authors, all different successes, it just blew us away. So we just kept going with it, you know, but we were just kind of so low. We just didn't really care if we put us any lower. We weren't really worried what the publishing industry thought, you know, like, oh, well, I mean, if we never get a deal after this, well, we already don't have one. So, okay. You know, so I just think that's kind of where you have to be.
Yeah.
In order to just, you know, I don't know. That's just where we were, right, Liz?
Well, and but when you do that, you find other people, but you also talk in that same series about how you learn to be happy for others, even when facing rejection yourself. And we find that really inspiring. So Liz, what lessons can you share with us tonight about being genuine cheerleaders, even when you're singing the blues, baby, singing the blues, which we have all, by the way, done and probably will do again at different times.
Right. I think the first thing is you have to understand that every author of every level is experience rejection at some point or another. And I think sometimes it's like, oh, that person's always got everything and they're doing all the things and I want the things and why don't I have the things and
all the things.
All the things. And you're just like, oh, and you're screenshotting it and you're like, they get all the things. Why don't I get the things? You know, but you have to take a step back and understand that everyone has their time and everyone's experienced rejection. And I think the people that are getting the things, for the most part, there are exceptions. They kept writing. They kept doing it. And I also think that success breeds more success. So like you ladies putting together, you know, Friends in Fiction and having so much success and all, like, that's good for all of us. Like you're supporting people. We're getting supported. We're supporting you, and more women authors or people are buying it and having. So like you have to take a step back and be like, if another, I mean, all authors, but let's admit women author are success. It's good for all of us. If more of their books are in development for TV or film, that's great. Like, so you have, and it's not always easy to do, and you have to check yourself, but I think we're all better for it when we can truly be happy for others.
Yep. As our MKA says, rising tides lift all boats.
Yes, for sure.
And let me say also, I love your freaking cover. I think that
thank you.
It is so great.
Thank you. So do
It
we.
is such a great
Really
cover.
and a great title. It's a fantastic title too.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
You know, I just wanted to tell people out there though, like your podcast is just, it's great to listen to as a reader, but I mean also just as a human being, because I mean you guys really go deep and you're not afraid to go to those places where you're talking about difficult things, and you bring your guests to those places too in a way that I think lets us all I don't know, share something different, explore something different. Like it goes beyond just books, and I think it's fantastic. You guys are doing such a great job, and I know
compliment.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
you're doing
Thank
great.
you.
And I know you've had Stephen on too. Tonight's other guest, Stephen Rowley.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Rowley, I'm sorry.
We love him. We love him.
We love him too, obviously.
We love him now too. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Lisa and Liz, before we let you go, where can our viewers find you on the road and online in the coming weeks?
Well, we'll be at Zibby's Bookshop in Santa Monica this Sunday, and we have an event on Sunday, August 6th, with Adventures by the Book in Carlsbad, California. That's a ticketed event. You can find us at Instagram at Lisa and Liz, and Facebook at Liz Fenton and Lisa Steinke. We're on Threads at Lisa and Liz as well, or our website, lizandlisa.com. We have everything there, links to everything.
That's awesome.
Well, fantastic. All right. So to all of you out there, please make sure to check out Forever Hold Your Peace, out now. And of course, Liz and Lisa's podcast, We Fight So You Don't Have To, available on all major podcast platforms. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Lisa and Liz. We loved having you.
Thank you.
Love having
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
All right. What an evening. Congratulations again to our girl, Kristy, on her amazing spot on the New York Times list. And to all of you out there, don't forget you can find all of our back episodes on YouTube. We will be back next week with our summer season finale featuring the legendary Ellen Hildebrand. We have such a fun episode in store for you, and we cannot wait. So thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. You can join us every week on Facebook or YouTube, where our live show airs on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram. We're so glad you're here.